This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah.
But you don't have your office fingers like I have.
No.
Is the mayor coming?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Oh, yeah. They never even turned that one on. No, this one's not working.
The batteries, I know they're working too, so they should be good to go, but we can share this one.
All right, enough there. Should I grab another one?
I think if you push, just tap this button once, it'll go on to green. Yeah. This one wasn't working. Do you want one back there?
No,
Kim, you need one.
I have nothing.
Yep, about it.
I had to scribe.
Yep.
In case you make it.
In case another one dies.
Yes, I'll be back.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. And first, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Nope.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move we approve the agenda as printed.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes. The minutes from January 11th.
Move we approve the minutes as printed.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes. 600. No public hearings. Now we're on to 5A, the Schuman variance request. Dylan, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, so last month, John Schuman submitted an application for a variance for an accessory structure on his property. Overall, the variance looks to stray from a few different ordinances, and I've listed them there. And I also listed the variance process, step 1 through 5, what the applicant needs to establish. What we usually do is review the application and submitted materials for this first initial meeting, but we have the property owner present in case we want to talk about it or have any questions. But just to say that all the sufficient application materials have been submitted. So regardless, we should move forward towards public hearing next month. But John, would you like the chance to talk about your project?
Does anybody have any questions about it first?
Where's it going, John? I mean, I know it's on your property.
Yeah, right where my present garage is. I'm gonna tear that down. It's not worth fixing anymore.
That's number 1 on your sketch.
Okay, that might be-
Yeah, I think so. Yep. So
Okay, so his house is, it's your house, yep. got
I
it.
kind of just drew in dash lines where the new one would be.
Okay, just verify. I understood you were looking to eliminate some of the other buildings, which,
Well, I guess that's kind of up to you guys, or, originally I was told you'd probably make me get rid of them. And then when I stopped at City Hall last Friday, Dylan said, well, we can put that into the variance that you want to keep a couple of them. I'd planned on selling 3 of them once it's built anyway, just because I didn't need them. I bought one specifically to use during the construction to store everything. And, but I thought I'd keep a couple of them if I could. I was gonna turn the one into a dog kennel possibly and for my mutt.
The 3 and the Z-12s, is that the ones you were looking to get rid of?
Yeah, probably 3, 6 is the one I bought to use during construction. And then either 4 or 5. 2 is a nice, that's a difficult one to move. I've moved all these in there myself and it's a lot of work, but I've done it. So.
So for the record, this is the first time we've seen a variance that's, I'll call it multifaceted. John and I have met numerous times. I'm not gonna make him apply for multiple variances, which is what we usually see. So this one, we're just gonna call it multifaceted, but yeah, John, the usual MO is we'll open a public hearing next month. And then at that point, recommend a motion towards approval or denial and send that off to city council. So
Couple other quick questions. This looks like a timber frame construction, is that,
It'd be pole building,
okay,
but Lodemeyer's did the sketch for me. And,
looks like timber frame, but okay.
yeah. So it'll be, I know last month's agenda said it was 25 feet. Well, that's inaccurate. It's 21 and a half is the height. And I'm just going by last month's agenda. There was some misinformation on here.
yep, it came from you. We got it down from 7 variances to 4, then to 3.
You know. So originally, I was gonna build 48 by 32 because everybody says, don't build too small. In a few years, you'll wish you had bigger. So that's what I went to the bank for a loan. I stopped at the bank, I believe, on the 20th to get a loan, check into that. Yeah, that wasn't gonna be a problem. And then Brian Haugen says, well, you maybe stop down City Hall, look into starting process for the building permit. So that was where I stopped the next part of the day. And that's when Dylan said, well, it was too many square feet, too tall. And he said, well, I think the bank sent you down here because they didn't want to tell me I couldn't build it. And I won't tell you what Brian said when I told him that, but the bank's in the business of loan money. They've given me a loan already because I wanted to lock in on the interest. So they want me to build. I want to build. They don't care what I build. So.
Well, now you have to tell us what Brian said.
What?
Now you have to tell us what Brian
No, I'm
said.
not.
Okay.
It's, no, that's for his mouth to say. I'm not gonna put words in his mouth. But,
Was there any, before we, discuss, making a motion to schedule a public hearing and then come back and discuss it more detail, was there anything between or today that could be changed or make it more palatable, or is this kind of the final plan that you want?
well, like I said, I originally started out 48 by 32 or 32 wide by 48.
Yep.
Then after talking to Dylan, he said it can't be over 1,000 square feet. So then I cut it down to 25 by 40. If it's at all possible, I wouldn't mind going 48 long because, 8 more feet doesn't cost too much more to build and I'd get a little more space. By comparison, the restrooms and the shelter across the parking lot is 24 by 40 and 17 feet high. So it isn't like I'm building a monster structure. And I guess it doesn't matter what my neighbors have, but the reason I never thought there was gonna be a problem, I stand in my yard, I see sheds to my north, sheds across the highway at 58, so mine's, I don't think it's gonna look out of place. It's, it's gonna be nice. I got colors to match the house. And it's kind of like saying my neighbors have boats and I'm only gonna be able to build a pontoon, or build a canoe. So it's and this last agenda says the privilege of I feel I should have the privilege of building it. It doesn't feel like a privilege to me. I paid $350 for the variance I gotta take the night off of work. If I go to a public hearing, that's another night off of work, and a city council meeting, so I'll be into this for $800 and I don't even have a building permit yet, so it isn't that I don't wanna build it, and it doesn't feel like a privilege right now, so. And I don't think it'll look bad. I planted trees on my property, so some of them will be hidden in a few years when they get a little bigger. And I don't see it being a negative effect on anybody in the neighborhood.
It'd be a lot easier if you lived out in the country, right?
Yep, but I don't, so, but I got a big lot, you know, I got a huge lot, so
Or a different zone.
it's, by comparison, my lot, my little sheds don't hardly, are just a speck on it. It's not like this isn't a normal lot in town. It's not a normal area with me and my neighbors with their bigger sheds, and so I'm sure the city will gladly accept their property taxes on it once it's built, if it gets built. So,
I just have a couple of questions. So when we get to the public hearing, does the site plan, does it show how many accessory structures are we looking to approve in that public hearing?
You approve if the variance is approved, it would be approved for straying from the number of accessory structures, which there's been, he'd like to keep all if we would allow that variance. And then we've talked about bringing it into conformance, which our last discussion on Friday was, he mentioned, John, you said 2 sheds and the detached garage, so that would put it at 3. So that would be one of the variances.
Yeah, I see it. I should have kept reading, sorry.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I said it in there, but.
And what are you going to use the shed for?
storage, it's a garage, you know. Like I said, compared to the structure across the parking lot, by the time you get a couple cars in there, a couple motorcycles, I've got a lawnmower, a snow blower, a couple tool benches, work benches. It doesn't, a 40 by 25 isn't a big area. I went with the barn style just to get some upstairs storage, to put some stuff up there. I thought if I'm gonna build, gain some extra storage. I didn't know the height was gonna be an issue, so. And the rafters aren't gonna be rafters for living space or anything upstairs, so it'll never be a apartment or anything. It'll just be storage, And one of my storage sheds, the number 2 shed looks like a barn. And the one day it just dawned on me, boy, a bigger version of that would look nice as a garage. That's where it started, this process. And I started seriously considering it 3 years ago, and then COVID hit and kind of put things on hold with the price of building and everything, but building prices aren't gonna come down now. And if I'm 62, if I'm gonna get any use out of it, I'll build pretty soon and go from there.
Would it be a hardship if you couldn't build it?
Not a hardship. I'm still gonna build a garage of some kind. It just won't be the taller roof probably. And I just won't have as much space. So I just, like I said, I wanna get some use out of it. Part of my goal is to leave the place better shape than when I got there 30 years ago. And, I've got some older farm machinery outside and it's kind of a farm theme. Not that that's an issue, but that's just what I wanted. And if I put a regular garage there, I guess that's what I gotta do, but I've been planning on this and I just didn't think this was gonna be an issue the whole time, so. If I knew it, I would've looked into it 3 years ago when I started, because Lodermeyer's done a couple plans for me and they didn't think it was because they'd built one of the sheds to my north 15 years ago. And, it's not their fault if it didn't have a variance or didn't apply for a building permit. I don't know. Some of that stuff is out of my control. If they did.
Because we have to apply all the variance rules,
Yeah, no,
to get
but
it changed.
I know there's variance rules, but that's why I'm here, I guess,
I thought you were pointing
to,
his lot is R2.
Correct.
So that,
You know, if it's cut and dried, then we might as well not even be here.
in a pole shed there.
And,
So it's different zones.
but I know this is an unusual circumstance. You know, you're usually dealing with boundaries, and I don't know if you ever had to deal with this. Dylan said not too long ago, there was another pole shed built with a variance, so I don't know what that variance was for.
Where was that in town?
That was Mr. Johnson,
On County 10.
I forget the address, at County
Right
10.
out on the edge.
That was a variance just for the aesthetic.
And speaking of aesthetic, that's my next question. John, looks like you brought in some samples of what it's going to look like. You know, number 7 on there is mentions pole shed and structures in this zone. Let's see. Doesn't appear that would be similar to the principal structure, but maybe you want to explain some finishes there and how that would tie in with your principal, your house.
Yeah. My house, this is a siding color, vinyl siding. I've just got this up in the peaks, the roof peaks. The shingles are gray. So what I thought I would go with is probably this shade right there on a wainscot on the bottom, 3 feet. And then the upper, probably one of the 2 reds there. And then the shingles or the steel roof would be one of the gray colors. I've got to look at a big sheet and see what shade to go with, but it'd be pretty similar to the shingles. So it's not going to be a purple shed next to a green house or anything. And
So you're still going to go with steel though, you're not going to sign it.
no, that was what I planned on, and steel's high right now, but you know, like I said, I thought it was gonna look nice, and you know, people with steel roofs in their house now, and if, you know, I don't know if I need to put steel in my house to make it match, or, but,
The city talking vertical steel or the horizontal wainscoting kind of thing.
yeah, there'd be, you know, 3 feet of wainscot, I think is what the plans were, and the rest would be red. And, so there'd be, you know, there's my house, so it'd be more red than what the house is, but it'd be similar shades. And you see it, Brian?
Oh, yeah, yep, I remember now. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I suppose other than like size of the lot, there really isn't much as far as finding practical difficulty. We have to just hash that out at the next meeting. And we also have to think about when you grant a variance for somebody down the road, the next person comes along and says, look what you did for John, why can't I have that? And then we have to somehow try to say, well, your situation's different because, so those are always the problems, but we can schedule a public hearing and hash it out then.
Yeah, you know, my side of it is, this ain't a typical area as Zumbrota, you know, with all the sheds around there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to build out to the golf course. I'm not up in the Meyerhofer addition.
Yeah.
It's just a unique area. I don't think there's very many place spots in town with lots the size of mine and my neighbors side by side. And, so.
Yep. So what's the next meeting there, Dylan?
I have 3/8, March 8th at 5:35 would be the public hearing. Second Tuesday of the month.
Anybody care to make a motion to schedule that?
I will. motion to have the public hearing.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Passes 600. See you March 8th. No other new business, and then we're on to 7A, B, and C.
So you already surpassed the time of last month's meeting. I can't believe I missed that one. But, so just to start, the Goodhue County meetings, I updated, I believe, the past 2 months, how this was upcoming, and then it got rescheduled, but we ended up having it. So in the past few weeks, Brian and I have met with Goodhue County Administrator Scott Arneson, a housing specialist, and a community engagement specialist. And the meeting with the county initially was for an initiative they have going on towards higher density residential zones, and they're looking to find pilot programs for developments and things like that. So it was very informative. Not to disclose too much on it now, but there was only a handful of cities that were looked at for some of these types of initiatives, and we look like we're going to be picked for maybe one of them, so there might be some upcoming work. Overall, it was a good meeting though, and we're still having talks with the county and other representatives regarding that. But the other meetings were talking about affordable housing and the impact of a multitude of housing from the Health and Human Services Department's perspective. I originally was confused why Health and Human Services was reaching out to me for surveys and wanting to meet, but housing and the life cycle mix is a big part of it. So overall, those meetings went well. Like I said, I've been bringing it up that it's been on the docket and it finally happened. So another one going to B, or can we go to B?
Yeah.
All right. So
Where's yours?
I took a webinar last week about land use. So this is just more an FYI. Hopefully we're all a little bit more familiar with the League of Minnesota Cities now on their website. They have a free webinar on land use for elected officials, commissioners, things of that nature. I found it pretty informative, so I wanted to relay that to you guys. If you guys wanted to take it, it's about an hour. You just watch it. It's not as interactive as perhaps the course we took for the finance course, and then C, so next month I've been requested to bring the EDA's annual report at our next month's meeting. And if you're familiar, half the EDA report has to deal with planning and zoning and things that happen within this department. So I'm going to bring it here too. So next month I'll have an annual report, plus I'll even share the EDA's action plan and a bunch of fun stuff for next month.
Sounds good.
There's fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I got to bring fun stuff now, yeah.
Question
This is all fun stuff.
Yeah,
relative to housing, is the new apartment, is that on track now, do you know?
it is. We just had the developer stop in. He came in probably 4 o'clock here right before this meeting. He was checking out, I forget what he said. He was putting up cameras. Is that what he said? They're putting up patio doors on Thursday, and we're actually going to go get a tour of it for the first time. So
I missed it for what?
for the Keller Bartman building.
Oh.
Yep, so it's on schedule.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, unless anybody else has anything else, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Here, I haven't been able to. Short and sweet.
Yeah, it's good. Short ones, right? That's nice. Okay, Dylan, got one question. So you said the land use there? How do we find it?
I put in the packet. Yeah, this is what the page looks like.
Okay.
So what I do is it shows the video here, but it prints out weird. I don't know. But if you go to the League of Minnesota Cities website, they have like webinars tab, you just click on it and it is the most recent one.
Okay.
So hopefully it's not too hard. But I mean, there's a bunch of fun information. I think about, you know, when I find this type of stuff from my EDA too, I try sending it to them.
Yeah, that's
I mean, you want planning and zoning 101, you want land use regulations for, everything.
So just head to that website and
Yep.
it should be right there.
It should be, if it's not, shoot me an email,
I
I'll
will
send
do
you the
that.
direct link. That's one thing I wish I could have did, but.
No, that's
give it-
perfect. All right, thank you.